I'm pleased to be joined with Phoebe Pedrina, and you are a local artist from here in Winnipeg, and you have a song coming out just a couple days from now called Metamorphosis.
Yes.
So it comes out on Friday, on April 19th. So, for someone listening or watching this, what is the song about? What's the heart behind it?
Yeah, so Metamorphosis started, I want to say, I think it was more than a year ago, really. It started with prayer. A couple of us from my church were meeting, and we just had it in us that we knew that we were going to kind of birth some songs. But Metamorphosis in particular started when my friend had shared this vision that she had in praying for our church, and our church being the Wave Church. It's in downtown Winnipeg. And I was just so inspired by it. And a couple days later, me and a couple more friends were together and we were talking about this vision just because it was just so on my heart. And it was such a visual image. And Metamorphosis is kind of the visual representation of what I interpreted that vision to be. And so I think for me, what I really got out of this was, the name Metamorphosis is just that transition, that change. But if you hear in the song, there's a couple lines talking about how you see a storm coming and you want to kind of brace yourself, but knowing and having faith that where you're going is where Jesus is. And that kind of is, I would say, kind of the heart of the song is you can go through all these things in life, and you can weather a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you know where you're going and you can trust that. But I really emphasize your humanity when things get hard in life. I particularly talk about it in a way where I was visualizing kind of a sandstorm. And I don't know if you've kind of ever known anything about a sandstorm, but it essentially kind of envelops you and it's kind of really scary. And so, it just came from that place of wanting to bring that image to life and kind of bracing for impact, but knowing where you're going.
That's so cool. And I love that just trying to paint that picture through a song and just how words, how music can do that, and really just seeing the passion of just it could just be a super simple reminder, something that you've heard a lot of times, and just of that constant theme of just trusting in the Lord and through the trials and the struggles and everything like that. So as you're writing a song, how does that, me just thinking, I'm I don't know how people can do that, but how do you take that theme? How do you take that vision that your friend had, and then how do you turn it into something like the song?
Yeah, actually, this one, Metamorphosis, kind of wrote itself. When I get an image in my mind, imagery is really easy to me. What's more difficult in writing about is feelings, because it's less concrete and you have to turn feelings into actual words that people can understand how you feel. But in this way, I already I saw it in my mind. I was okay, there's this transition, and I know that there's this visual aspect of being in the desert and new life growing from the desert, and just this idea of dead to life. And it was just so easy. It just kind of came out. When you get to hear the lyrics of the song, it'll make a lot more sense. But it was funny because even the name wasn't the name of the song.
Oh, really?
First. Yeah. For me, the title of a song comes last. It always does. And so because of my process, I think that as I write, the identity of the song only just starts to form as I write, and it doesn't feel complete until it's done, and I can't give it a title until it's done. that's been my typical kind of writing process. But honestly, like, yeah, it came so easy. And not every song is like that. It's rarely ever like that. But I think that's part of the beauty of what this song ended up being, was that it just is. It just came out so easily. I don't know if it's because the themes in it are like common Christian themes, but you just know when something's right, and you're like, yes, this totally makes sense. And yeah.
Wow. And I want to touch on something that you said earlier of just like that it came through a vision that your friend had, and then really connecting and like you kind of working together with people from your church, and just that sense of community and that sense of togetherness. How, I mean, obviously if it came from that originally, but how big of an impact does that have, writing and getting like hearing other people's perspective of what the Lord is teaching them as well?
Yeah. My church community, especially our worship community, has just kind of really grown as the years have gone by, and we've kind of really just developed an appreciation for each other and each other's art while being founded in the Lord. And I don't think that's necessarily like a common thing. It's very difficult to find people who you can write songs with in particular, because songwriting is such a vulnerable process. And you're kind of getting to know each other in a really different way. It's not like you're just writing a haiku or something. Like you're kind of looking within yourself to see, what do I have to contribute in a way that's meaningful. And yeah, so this process, it really started, we recorded in August of last year, and it took us a while to kind of get everything mixed and mastered. I don't know if you know anything about that part of music, but it takes a little bit of time for that to get done. And my hope kind of for this project in general was for it to be like a community thing. So even down to the art, which you will probably be able to see, is a butterfly. And one of my friends had, she drew it for us. And I think that was part of the beauty. People were asking me, why was it kind of like taking a little longer? And I was like, well, I don't mind that it takes a little bit longer if it means that more people get to like be part of something. And I think that's kind of at the heart of our community, is like just wanting to involve each other in our accomplishments and our goals. So,
and you mentioned a butterfly as your artwork. Why was that what was chosen?
Just like the concept of metamorphosis is often associated with like caterpillars turning into butterflies and stuff. And so that was kind of just the general idea for it. But you can see on the art that there is like kind of all three stages of metamorphosis. So there's like the little caterpillar, and then the cocoon, and then the butterfly. And the inspiration behind it too was butterflies that are common in the desert, because the vision came from kind of an imagery of the desert, right? So it was very intentional, and we wanted it to be that way. Like, we didn't want to just like create something just to make something. Like, we wanted to make art, and that's, I think, what we did together.
That's so cool. And when people hear this song, like you said, it comes out on Friday.
Yeah.
When they hear this song, what are you hoping the big theme, like if you could kind of sum it up in one sentence, one phrase, what are you most excited for?
For someone to get out of the song?
Yeah.
I would say to just listen to it and see what part of it really speaks to your life right now. I think even like with reading books or poems or any other art that we take part in analyzing, it means different things to us at different points in our lives. And so for this one, like any other song that I'll ever write, I think I want you to just take a piece from it in whatever way that the Lord's moving in your life. but knowing that our faith in him can be constant, and it can be really reassuring no matter where we're at in life and what we're going through. And I think that's kind of the beauty of Metamorphosis, because it kind of just applies to any season of life we're in.
I guess like constantly changing, like you were saying, right?
Yeah.
And that sounds so cool. And so now just to get to know you a little bit more, this is one of your first songs that we're going to be hearing on CHVN.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting. So for our listeners, just to get to know you, and, we've heard your heart about why you write the songs that you write. But as an artist, who would you say are like some of your musical influences?
So if you actually like happen to Google me at all, I have a profile on Manitoba Music. It's kind of just this website with like a bunch of artists from all over Manitoba. And at least there I wrote, like the likes of Madison Ryan Ward I've been listening to a lot. People who kind of break the mold of kind of your typical Christian music, I think I really find refreshing, because growing up not knowing there was a world outside of like worship music that was equally pleasing to the Lord was just such a new concept to me, that I've been kind of venturing out of genres. So I would say her style is probably the most like to me, but in terms of my own like preference in listening to music, you'll probably catch me listening to like artists and bands like No Big Deal and Hulvey, and like rap songs, to be honest, which you probably wouldn't think like getting to know me initially. But I just find it so exciting that we can like find new ways to praise the Lord and find new ways to express our gratitude and faith. It's just there's such a big world out there of musicians and artists that the Lord has blessed to minister to others in a way that's not like previously.
That's so cool. And so if somebody's watching this, listening to this, you said you have a profile on Manitoba Music, but where can they, follow along in your journey, get updates as it's happening?
Totally. I have an Instagram right now where I kind of post the most. And I'll probably put updates there. It's just Phoebe_Pedrina. And you can find me out there. I usually post a lot. And right now I actually have a Spotify pre-save running. And so you can save my song before it comes out, and you can follow me on Spotify before it comes out. But I also have a YouTube. If you just search my name, you'll find me there too, and also my music. So on Friday, my song will be out on all streaming platforms. So whether or not you use Apple or Spotify,
it'll be there.
It'll be there. And even like the smaller ones, like if you use Amazon or Tidal or Deezer or any like niche streaming platforms, I'm sure it'll be there. I'm so excited.
Just see the excitement on your face, and just getting to chat with you about the song and hear your heart and hear your passion for it has been really cool. So Phoebe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.